Good evening. It's Wendy Hernandez, and welcome to Command the Courtroom Live. Tonight's guest is Jonathon Aslay. And I didn't even ask before we went live, Jonathan. Did I say that right?
Thumbs up.
All right. Awesome. So let me give you Jonathan's intro. After losing his 19-year-old son Connor in 2018, Jonathan's grief led him on a soul-searching inner journey where he became aware of an often overlooked dimension of the dating conversation. He realized the process of dating reveals the most common emotional health issue faced by many singles seeking a partner, a distressing lack of self-worth, self-regard, and self-love. Today, he's on a mission of encouraging both men and women to fully love themselves with a new book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway?, packed with fun, engaging spiritual and personal growth practices, and his dynamic midlife love mastery mentorship program that inspires hundreds of people daily around the world. Welcome, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Wendy. Yay!
Yay! I'm so thrilled to have you on the show tonight, Jonathan. And it's
honored to be here.
Awesome. So, a lot of my viewers, most of my viewers are people who were once in a relationship and no longer in a relationship, and they're either divorced or they're just split from, next partner, and they're sharing children. And one of the challenges that they're dealing with is finding new love.
Yeah.
Is that something that's in your zone of genius?
Well, it is when a person decides to start finding the love within themselves. Mm-hmm. And I say this because most people, especially after a divorce, oftentimes go seek to fill that void somewhere else. So, and in many cases don't do work on themselves prior to going out to finding a new relationship. So I would say, when you read my bio and there's a distressing lack of self-love, honestly, the love we must start with is the love within ourselves. And because the most important relationship you're ever going to have is the relationship with yourself. And many people do what I did. I mean, when my now ex-wife and I just split up, I mean, the first thing I did was I went on the dating sites. Literally, I had just moved out of the house and it took me about a day to set up a profile. And I thought, I would just punch in, exactly what I want and someone would magically appear. And that's what did happen. And yep. I went out on, I'll never forget my first date after my divorce. Nice woman, nice date, something wasn't right. And then a few days later, I met another woman, nice date, nice woman, something wasn't right. And that happened again and again and again. And in 1 year, I had over 100 internet dates.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And I realized that the something wasn't right was me. So whether it's a man or a woman, we oftentimes go seek that fulfillment outside of ourselves, and we just repeat a pattern again. In fact, as an attorney, the divorce rate, if the divorce rate is actually a 50% number here in the United States, the second and third marriage divorce rate is somewhere between 65 and 75%. So isn't that an interesting statistic to think about? People are bad enough the first time, but they're even worse the second or third time because they have done little or no work to heal what caused their marriage to end, whether it's the other person or within themselves.
Okay, so
I know I said a mouthful.
No, that was fantastic, and I agree with all of it wholeheartedly. So I want to unpack it a little bit.
Sure.
So somebody's getting out of a relationship. How can that person tell whether they have work to do on themselves or not?
Most people are unconscious to it anyway. So, it usually happens. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, expecting a different result. So when I shared with you, I went on 100 internet dates and realized, the problem is me. So when you recognize that you are the creator of all of, please forgive the languaging, any dysfunction in your life. And matter of fact, unless you have to call a doctor, an attorney, or a lawyer, Okay. In other
Yeah.
words, if you have to call one of those three people, any other reason, it's all on you.
Got it.
So when you take ownership, oh, wait a minute, I am having this problem. Wow, maybe I'm the common denominator. That's the first step. That's called awareness.
Okay.
And then when we can actually go to the next level and say, oh, this problem happened in my life, so I can find a way to love myself. And most people can't even comprehend that anything unhappy in your life is an opportunity to love yourself.
Agreed.
Now, by the way, the term self-love can be a turnoff to people. So let me kind of give you a context of what self-love is. Self-love means self-worth, self-reliance, self-esteem, self-confidence. All those self words are wrapped up in the word love. So if you're turned off by the term self-love, well, then just think of self-worth, self-reliance, self-esteem, self-confidence, and that is all encapsulated in love.
So thank you for that. And I love that definition or that specificity. So if somebody is in a position where, the self love is suffering and it's from years of, and it could have been, trauma, abuse from childhood.
Yeah.
What needs to happen? Can they shift that? And in your opinion, what are the first steps towards shifting that? And how long would it take to shift that? Is this something that's going to take a lifetime to potentially shift?
Oh, everything takes a lifetime. We don't have true consciousness until about 7 seconds before we die. And it's like, and then go. And then we get another chance at it. So what most people don't recognize, and when I say most people, I mean every fucking human being on the planet, has childhood wounds and traumas or adult traumas that causes them to have negative patterns and limiting beliefs in their life. Let me repeat that. Childhood wounds or traumas or adult traumas that cause them to have negative patterns and limiting beliefs in their life. So one of the things I did some years ago was called the Hoffman Process. Now, this is the book, The Hoffman Process. This is an amazing book to actually unpack all of the garbage within your life. Okay, that if you feeling, and a lot of people aren't even willing to accept that they have emotional garbage, baggage, luggage in their lives. So first, it takes a leap of faith to actually start a book like this. Now, just to give you an example, I did the 8-day workshop training. Just to fill out their application took 12 hours to complete. That's how intense it goes into. And people say just filling out the application, which you can go online to the Hoffman Process and fill that out, is incredibly cathartic. It causes you to look at things that happened in your childhood that cause you to be the way you are as an adult. Okay? So that's the first thing, is understanding what awareness really is. Let me give you an example. You're walking down a street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. You fall in, you're lost, you're helpless, but it isn't your fault, okay? Well, and then you're walking down the same street. You see the hole, you fall in, you're in the same place, but you say it's not my fault. When you can actually go, oh, I'm falling into this hole, and this hole represents whatever dysfunction you have in your life. It's your responsibility.
Got it.
And it kind of piggybacks on what you and I were talking about before the show. Here in the United States, human beings are suckling on the nipple of victim consciousness. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never my fault. It's always somebody else's fault. We are an absolute society as human beings that take little or no ownership in their life.
So let me ask you this, Jonathan. For a person who has suffered domestic violence, domestic abuse, and if you look at it objectively, you would say this person was victimized. What would you say to that person about the victim mentality that we're talking about and how to break out of it or use it?
Okay, so let me go back to what I said earlier. Unless you have to call a doctor, an attorney, or a policeman. Okay, so in what you described, you would be contacting one of those three agencies, if you will. I'm saying everything outside of that. Victim consciousness is a belief that everything is happening to you. And empowerment, victor consciousness, is everything is happening for you. Because even in cases of domestic violence and some other severe cases of abuse, it actually has fueled people into whole different areas of their life. But I am in no way here to suggest I'm absolving bad behavior from another human being if you have to call a doctor, an attorney, or a policeman. I am not even suggesting that. I mean, there are cases where you've been victimized, but victim consciousness is not the same as being victimized.
Got
Does that make
it.
sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Okay, so somebody is in this state of victim consciousness,
Yeah.
and they're used to blaming others,
Yeah.
not taking accountability, not taking
Yeah.
responsibility. Like, how do you turn that around? Because, we get stuck
So
in these. Yeah,
let's go to the dating realm.
yeah.
So, it's funny. You're an attorney, so you might be able to appreciate this. My now ex-wife and I were at divorce court. I remember once, and we were the 5th case on the docket, but the attorney said we have to be there at 8 a.m. But our case didn't actually get in front of the judge until 11 o'clock. So I heard 4 other cases before ours. And my only reason for sharing this, by the way, anybody, if you really want to be entertained for a day, spend some time in divorce court. And now that's being entertained, but let me say what I really meant is if you want to be educated, listen to other people describe their issues, and you can start filtering where the truth lies in between this, because it's her fault. No, it's his fault. No, it's her fault. No, it's his fault. It's when you can say, hey, I'm a part of the reason why this relationship ended, you're halfway there to healing by literally taking ownership.
Got it.
So you're literally on your way to begin healing yourself.
And so healing, so you take ownership, there's awareness, taking ownership, and then what? I mean, where does the person go from there? Like what? I mean,
I'm a big believer. So when I wrote my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. I'm a believer it takes a daily practice of emotional work to actually heal oneself. Now, let me give you an example. Most human beings will spend more time brushing their teeth, getting their hair done, taking showers every day, and they spend about this much time in emotional health. Okay? This much time. But they spend all that other time grooming themselves, getting ready for work. So humans spend little or no time in the area of emotional maturity. So let me give you an example. Meditation is one way to quiet the mind from the monkey noise, the monkey mind, the noise in our head. So that's one example. Reading books about healthy communication. For example, I'm a big proponent of everybody reading the book Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. It should have been called Compassionate Communication. This is a great book to learn how to communicate with human beings. Now, it's so funny because I'm a dating and relationship coach for women, and most women blame all the dating problems on men, and as if they're the martyrs of the world. They're so superior on an emotional level, and yet women are equally bad at communicating their feelings as men are. Because women tend to, and this is a overgeneralization, and please forgive me if this sounds like I'm being patronizing, but women vomit their feelings, and just because you vomit it all at the same time doesn't mean we can hear it. So most humans don't know how to properly express how they're feeling at any given time. So this is why most relationships have friction, because they're not communicating in an emotionally healthy way. This is why I highly recommend everybody reading the book The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements.
Yep.
The 4 agreements are simply be impeccable with your word, always do your best, don't take anyone's projection as a reflection of you, and don't make assumptions about other people. This is the beginning stages of emotional maturity.
And so this will help with the healing and getting to that healthier place where a person is being accountable and owning their actions.
Exactly. It's interesting, since our topic is about divorce, and I said earlier, when we look at second or third marriages actually fail at a greater rate. I have this theory. I would like your thought on this. I'm of the baby boom generation, so I grew up watching a TV show called The Brady Bunch. Now, The Brady Bunch was a 60s sitcom. Now, what was interesting is we know that Mike Brady was a widower. We don't find out later that Carol Brady, we find out when they made the movie, is actually divorcee. But you never hear any of that in the beginning. They simply, she had 3 kids, he had 3 kids, and bam, they're together. And their biggest problem was the knapsack race they had over the weekend. That was the extent of it. Oh, and Carol Brady had Alice to take care of everything so she didn't have to work. What a fucking crock of shit. Because that's nowhere near what it's like when 2 lives blend together. It is such an absolute clusterfuck. And most people don't actually think about what it takes to actually blend lives together. And sadly, and I say this again without being disrespectful, most women think of relationships in the clouds. They're all like, well, if we love each other, everything will magically work out perfectly because magic fairy dust always works out. Magic fairy dust just always works out. So you know what? We can be really fucking dysfunctional, absolutely clueless. Our lives are a train wreck, but we'll figure it out because we love each other. What planet do people live on to believe this? Love does not solve your relationship problems. Alignment, emotional maturity, understanding the mechanics to a healthy, happy relationship is how you actually forge a healthy, happy relationship. Okay, I'm done yelling.
No, that's wonderful. That was really stuff much needed for me to hear. In my relationship with my husband, we've been married going on 12 years now, and I can tell you that our communication, I mean, it needs work. He's been married twice before me, and he's a great communicator. I'm a lawyer who does communicating for a living, but when it comes to communicating in our relationship, it becomes much more difficult. So I go into the cave, and he's like, we need to talk about this. You can't just do that.
You know, it's interesting. Everybody who's watching this, there's a show on Showtime called Couples Therapy. And it's a brilliant show. It's real life couples therapy. It's not some bullshit Kardashian kind of show. It's real couples therapy, hidden cameras. And what's fascinating to me, mostly heterosexual couples, but a few gay and lesbian couples, women communicate equally as bad as the men. I mean, it's just like you're watching this and you're going, you know, women are supposed to be such great communicators. They, like I said earlier, they often vomit their feelings. In your case, what you described as more of an avoidant type of reaction. So what mostly happens in your case is the minute there's a confrontation, you go inward, hopefully to heal and then be able to prepare to communicate. And he's maybe an anxious personality type. By the way, for those that aren't familiar with what I'm just talking about, I'm talking about love attachment style. There's anxious, avoidant, and secure. The book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller is a great book to understand attachment style.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So in your particular case, what I would invite you to do is lean into the discomfort. Lean into the discomfort. But I would say do that after you've read this book, Nonviolent Communication.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Okay. So
by the way, I'm a plethora of books because you know what? Here's the thing. You know, you can spend, by the way, I charge a ridiculous amount of money to work with me. That you could learn everything in about $180 worth of books.
Yep. I love all these book recommendations. They're great. I haven't read most of them. I read The 4 Agreements, could read it again, but thank you for all the other book recommendations.
I got more.
I'm sure you do. I look forward to hearing them. So Jonathon, if somebody's working on their communication, yet they're with the partner, there's love in the relationship, yet the other partner may not be the greatest at communication, like how does that get handled? What do you recommend for that?
You know, I'm a big proponent of couples actually being intentional in their relationship. So, you know, most human beings do this when they are dating and in relationship. They wing it. You see my hand winging it. These are wings, okay? They just wing it. Because they're not intentional. So I'm a big proponent of couples once a month, doing a couples workshop, doing couples counseling, doing things to actually being intentional about how can we improve our relationship, because there's a you, there's a me, and then there's a collective we. The we is a separate entity. And by investing in the we, again, most people spend more time brushing their teeth, getting their hair done, getting massages, all this other pampering shit, but they spend little or no time in the actual co-creating of a relationship. So first and foremost, it takes two human beings to want to do this, to be intentional. And it's fascinating to me how many women I work with say, well, they talk to their husband about going to therapy and the husband doesn't want to do it. I'm like, you don't want to do things that can actually improve our relationship? My answer to that is go fuck yourself. You know, if you're not willing to actually work on this relationship, I'm going to find a different penis or vagina that will actually be a part of this, because I want to co-create something amazing instead of just basically subjecting myself to this same rhetoric over and over and over and over and over and over again, because, you know, you either get busy living or get busy dying in my world.
That's right. Absolutely. I agree with that. Totally.
By the way, I hope your audience doesn't mind all my cursing.
Oh, no, I think that we got a comment that somebody likes your directness, straight to the point. That's awesome. And I like it. I appreciate it too. And I cuss much more than people know. I
call them sentence enhancers. They're really meant to get you to think, you know, with an exclamation point.
Exactly. I agree. I love it. And I love your enthusiasm. So, okay. Getting intentional. What are your thoughts on swear a little, feel a little better? Absolutely. Tenacious warrior.
So you're saying intentionality?
That's right. That's right. What are your suggestions for people getting intentional with their partner, aside from like couple workshops? You have book recommendations?
So there's a great book. Oh my God, so Dr. John and Julie Gottman, they wrote a book called 8 Dates. Okay, 8 Dates. So let's go back to this divorce for a second. I'm going to come back to this book again. So when I told you I was in divorce court, what occurred to me is there was 4 different couples and they had different complaints. So it occurred to me, what if I sat in divorce court for a couple days and I listened to all the different reasons why a relationship didn't work? So wouldn't it make sense to go, let me reverse engineer this and figure out how can I address this before it becomes this? So that's what actually inspired me to want to become a dating or relationship coach. I thought of all the reasons why people get divorced. And in the case of Dr. John and Julie Gottman, they studied over 30,000 couples to find out what was the breakdown in relationship and said, how can we reverse engineer this? So this book is designed to help you deal with things before they become, you have to call a doctor, an attorney, or a policeman. And that's what I mean by intentionality. Because most people, okay, so here's the tricky part about going back to the Brady Bunch analogy.
Yes.
When we're in our 20s, we're like a blank sheet of paper. The number one reason why most people get married is to make babies and raise a family. That's their common cause, okay?
Yes.
The common cause. That's the predominant common cause, which includes usually buying property together. That's the strongest root of the relationship. Now you get divorced, okay? This is where people are, by the way, are absolutely clueless and unconscious. They don't know what their common cause is. And without a common cause and a common purpose, all that you're left with is connection, sex, and maybe companionship. So this is one of the reasons why most couples don't know how to really blend these together. Now, in the case of the Brady Bunch, they got married, and it was just this bullshit fantasy, because wouldn't we all like an Alice to do all, I mean, look at, she had it so fucking made, you know, she didn't have to do shit. Again, that's not the world we live in.
No,
that was a TV show.
Yeah.
So it's how do we find our common cause together within the makeup of what we have in our lives. Now, in my coaching, I talk about the 4 pillars of relationship success. The 4 pillars are chemistry, which is the most obvious, shared values, blendable lifestyles, and emotional maturity. Without those 4 pillars, you know, the 4 legs to that chair or table, Most people focus on chemistry and attraction and pay little attention. Do we share the same values? Can our lifestyles blend? And lastly, is this person even emotionally mature to be in relationship?
Got it.
Really quickly, emotional maturity to me is when we include the book, The Four Agreements, but includes, do your actions consistently match your words? Do you have victor consciousness, meaning you take personal responsibility for your choices? Do you know how to do what's called fighting fair? Conflict resolution is one of the most important skills needed for emotional maturity. And fighting fair means I listen to your point of view. You listen to my point of view. I accept your point of view as being true for you. You have to accept my point of view as being true for me. Now, sometimes you may just come to a place where you agree to disagree, but you accept and value the other person's point of view. The minute you say your point of view is wrong, you don't know how to fight fair.
Yeah,
okay?
Right.
The fourth thing is empathy. Now, a lot of people think of empathy as, I can feel your feelings. That's not, yes, that's a form of empathy.
Yeah.
But a deeper form of empathy is twofold. I care about your feelings and I care about my feelings. This is where boundaries come in, okay? Because your feelings matter. And lastly is transparency. And transparency simply means if it's material to the relationship, I'm going to divulge whatever's coming up for me because it matters to the relationship. That to me is emotional maturity when it comes to dating, mating, or relating. And the reality is the vast majority of human beings, men and women, are very weak at this. And let me repeat that. Men and women are very weak at this.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I mean, my mind is being blown right now at all the stuff that I don't know. And I have sat through probably thousands of divorce cases, and I know why things don't work out, but this communication stuff and relating to the other person and these pillars, like my mind is blown. I need to learn this stuff, not just for my relationship, but hopefully to help others.
You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Most people go to either an attorney or a therapist. When they're, well, the thing is, when you go to an attorney, it's always the other person's fault. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. But you know, what's so fascinating when people go to couples therapy, 99 out of 100 times they go to the therapist hoping that the therapist fixes their partner. You better fix my partner because I'm perfect and they're bad or wrong. That's the way humans operate. We, again, are suckling on this. We actually in the United States are the most narcissistic human beings on the planet when it comes to interpersonal relationships. And yet everybody wants to point the finger at everyone else being a narcissist.
Yep.
That's a whole nother conversation.
I'm sure. Yeah, it definitely is a whole other conversation. Okay. Well, gosh, in this short period of time, Jonathon, you've shared so much. And I know, so you already pointed to one book that you have. Do you have another book?
My other book is called Understand Men Now, but to be honest, it's a cheesy book. My other book, though, is on Amazon. Just as a reminder, what the heck is self-love anyway? Maybe you might have a link here, but you can just go to Amazon and check it out or look up my name.
All right. And so tell me, I know you have programs. So tell people how they can find you, how they can work with you, how they can get more of you. I know you have a YouTube channel that's blowing up.
So, I mean, first off, my name is listed here. Everybody notice the spelling of my name. You can put it in Google. What will come up is my YouTube channel, which is Understand Men Now, my podcast called the What Would Love Do podcast, where we explore life, love, and the pursuit of inner peace through the eyes of love. So whenever you have a problem, always ask yourself, what would love do? That's the way I approach it. I have a membership program. You mentioned it before. This allows people to have access to me directly for a limited or for a nominal cost. Then I have private coaching, and I'm on Instagram and all that other stuff. But
gosh,
but if you really want to have fun, come to my YouTube channel.
Yeah. So Jonathon was just sharing with me that he does live streams. There's a lot of engagement. They sound like they're really fun. And I'm gonna have to show up for one. Do you have a schedule for that, or they just?
Yeah, I do it Monday, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Los Angeles time, and Friday at 3 p.m. And usually we get about 300 or 400 people on live at any given time. So I'm very blessed.
Oh my God, what a learning experience, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun too. Just based on your energy here.
Yeah. Well, I do like to be dramatic. Because you know what? Here's the thing. And people go, well, why do you yell? And I'm like, look, when a child is about to put their hand in fire, do you just say, no, don't do that? Or do you just go, fucking stop what you're doing? We're human beings, stop being unconscious and take ownership of your life. And that's the way I am.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that's a great note to end on, Jonathan. And I'm so grateful to know you. And thank you for being here tonight.
My pleasure, Wendy. Thank you. I'm honored to be your guest.
Oh, thank you. So for you guys out there, if you like this, you got to give it a thumbs up. Like, how can you not give it a thumbs up? And be sure and subscribe to Command the Courtroom. Go to Jonathan's channel and subscribe. Check out his live stream. Check out his website. We'll post the links in the show notes once we get this all optimized and everything. And anyways, I'm going to have some more interviews coming for you this summer. And until next time, remember to get out there and command the courtroom, and I'll see you next time.